So you can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. Now, when I think about that, I think like, you know, people are afraid of sharks because they watch Jaws, and then they watch Jaws 2, and then they watch Jaws 3, and they're like, ah! In Jaws 3, you think you're a pretty strong guy or something like that, and go to the gym and you work out that deltoid. You and then you're like, and then so a guy like that could jump into the water and get attacked by a shark, and there goes that deltoid. In Jaws 3, there's the guy's axilla and the guy's bicep, but his deltoid is missing because the shark decided to eat that. You know? A fish. A shark is a fish. The fish can do that, Have you ever watched Blue Planet? You're not thinking about climbing trees, unless when you get high and watch something, you chose Coke instead of weed, which would be quite the quite the adventure. But anyway, gotta think like a fish can destroy you. You're a human, you can wear a diving suit, but you go in the water with that thing, it's gonna kill you, whether or not it climbs a tree. It climb right up your ass and kill you. A fish can electrocute the water around it and stay safe. And it doesn't even have fins because it's an eel. A fish can do that, A fish can provide vital nutrients to the ecosystem of the marine ecosystem, the part of our own Earth that we're just too scared to explore because we're land animals. We can forget about that. And we are land animals. Land animals exist because some animal decided to go on land. Some animals are like, you know what, I'm gonna go up on the water because I'm pretty okay with it. I don't really know how it happened. Nobody knows about that. I guess to compare, it would be like going into space. Humans are like, you know what? We're going to make it to the moon. We can go into space. And then you're like, yeah, nowadays we just have pretty much, we're sending gaming computers up there. Something like 40, 50 years ago, we used a calculator to, just as powerful as a calculator to determine a lot of the computations necessary for spaceflight, the way we made it. But now we're just sending a gaming computer up there, and that thing is compared to calculator, and it's only this big, which is like the difference, teeny tiny, not as big as a fucking house, and that would be like, going into space for the first time is like, that would have been something like a fish or something climbing onto land for the first time. And then everybody's doing it and they're like, hey, this is cool. And then eventually we have dinosaurs and shit like that. But the fish who stayed in the water were like, yeah, we're good enough here. We're good. We're good. We're totally okay. We're just fine with this. And then, it hasn't been something like 40 million years. It hasn't been 40 million years after going into space. I mean, computers would definitely speed that up, but enough time has to pass. But 40 million years or so after land animals started existing, the ocean is filled with plastic, and then fish are dying because land animals are hunting them. But we don't have that comparison with space animals hunting us. That would be nuts. That'd be insane. That's not happening, and that's pretty wacky. But eventually land animals started climbing trees. Eventually, I don't know, some space animals are going to be living without a suit in space, you know. The Star Trek, The Next Generation, the giant space brain whale that just hangs onto the back of the ship and sucks the radiation right out of its ass. You know? And again, it's the only time I can relate with there's so much we don't understand is when, nowadays when I'm comparing it to people who don't understand shit. And I'm not emphasizing shit. I'm emphasizing understand. You should be able to do that. You have a brain, right? You know? You have a brain. You gotta be able to use it. It's not like you have to wait for the update. If there ever is an update, in brain power optimization, it's gonna come in something like at least 50,000 years. Because that's the point at which we started thinking, oh, we should build a boat and go somewhere. That was 50,000 years ago. And, that's what helped us say, oh, yeah, we're in a different place now across an ocean. We don't have to stay in Africa anymore. We're interconnected. So 50,000 years later, that's pretty easy to think about. It took 50,000 years for us to go, hey, we can go wherever the hell we want and just take a plane. It'd take, something like 10 hours to get to Japan from something like, I don't know, India or, I don't know, Indiana. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, it's so many, everybody does things, You can listen to this. You can listen to this noise that I'm making, and you're using ears that you were born with these ears. They kind of grew, but, people have been using the same ears for something like, 50,000 years. Nothing's really changed that much. And, you walk. If you have legs, you use legs that are, genuinely human. They don't have to, you don't have to get coffee lake legs to run, ray tracing, ray tracing races. You just have to have I guess you have to work out. Your legs grow. You're not the same guy you were 20 years ago, that's for sure. But you're sure as hell the same damn human that's been the default human for about 50,000 years. Or actually 10,000 if you're white. I don't know. I'm white. It's when you think about you were something like, you were a fetus. You were a teeny tiny fetus. You were that teeny tiny string of stuff. And then before that, you were just this teeny tiny nut and some teeny tiny egg thing inside somebody's junk. And 20 years later or so, 20 years later for me, I'm this 6 foot human, You know, this is what a human looks like. Humans don't think about, see some white stuff on the floor. They don't think, hey, nice to meet you. No. They don't do that. They clean this shit up. Fucking nutcases. But that is what eventually makes a human. It doesn't fall on the floor, though. No. That's the way we've been doing it for 50,000 years. So you can't fucking. I guess you could fucking change that, but as the member, you're probably a human, right? As a member of the species that always does things like this, not only do you have it in your head that you need to have sex in order to reproduce and create life, deep in your mind, you have that. You also have the interaction with others around you, and now the connection with everybody in the world, every human ever on the internet. You can connect with them, and that's pretty much everybody. And you eventually connect with them enough so that parts of what they're saying, that random shit that comes out, becomes something that you read aloud to yourself and well enough. If you start out on the internet and you go looking at terrorists, you go like, this is what people all around the world do. Just because you're following one Facebook anti-government page or something like that. But there's so much shit out there, They don't advertise anti-government stuff. They advertise Coca-Cola still, Coca-Cola, much better than Pepsi. Coca-Cola. Much better than Pepsi, that's for sure. That's for fucking sure. That's one of those things that, we little pathetic humans joke about that shit, and then, there goes that silly human understanding of joy in the form of mass marketing, and, my whole world is upside down. You don't really see it that way, but you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't think of a guy who likes Coca-Cola. You think of, all that esoteric bullshit that's been building up in your head, and it just is you, whatever the fuck you're thinking, You could have your own fucking language, if not for learning from the, the masters of this world, who, are everybody who speaks whatever language you're going to speak. They're going to teach it to you, and you're just a little kid, right? If you grow up without a language, you'll still be quite human, but you will not be a language-speaking human. You'll just, you won't be able to communicate anything properly. You probably wouldn't be able to understand it if nobody taught it to you. Just hear noises, You could comprehend human emphasis, people saying things loudly, but you wouldn't be able to say you wouldn't be able to hear what the fuck they're saying, You use your ears to hear, you hear noises, that's for sure. You can probably determine the difference between a car horn and a sledgehammer hitting a piece of concrete. You can most probably determine the difference between those. You can probably determine the difference between the Wilhelm scream and somebody moaning in a porn video. Maybe you don't know how to determine the difference between that, but I think you do. The thing is, without language, you couldn't determine the difference between English and Arabic. You just be some sort of English or Arabic or French or Spanish or whatever. Everybody speaks whatever the hell they want. And what they want is greatly influenced by what they were taught when they were a kid. You don't just learn your native language by choice. No. You have to have your default language for your default, your spawn area. But, language. Dolphins cannot climb trees, but they make those weird clicks and stuff, and it travels across the water, and they all come and meet each other and say, hey, let's go grab fish. Look over there, there's a fish. And they're like, yeah. Swim, 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 and they go get the fish. But they can't climb trees, that's for fucking sure. We can say whatever the hell we want, We can say like, like, hey man, wanna, I guess, I don't know. You're sitting around passing the blunt. Maybe you do have the ability to go to space, but for real, you're not just actually floating up there. You're floating up here, but your brain is just in this. Your brain is in this casing here. Your brain is encased by this flesh and blood. Your brain is the grossest of all your organs, the most disgusting, the most, the fact that it just sits there in this, just soaking in blood and juice, water, it doesn't rot too easily. You drink for like long enough, you can think clearly, but you might have to, you might have kidney failure. Who knows? And that would kill you. That would make your skin burn. That would make you throw up every 5 minutes for the months before your death. It'd be so incredibly painful, You don't think about going to space then, If you're a fish and you're thinking, like you're just dying, you have a terminal condition and it's going to take long enough for you to die that you feel it. You're not thinking about him going up on land. You're just thinking, when will it end? Watching Neil deGrasse Tyson on the TED Talks talking about, he just took humans just feeling around a wall, groping at a wall to see how long it is, how big it is, what's up and down. It's quite obvious that we have, that fluid in our ears that helps us balance. If you look at shit like this, you can feel it in your ear. And that coincides with how your vision changes when you tilt your head, over something like 50,000 years of evolution or more. And, you probably don't need to know how tall the wall is, how wide the wall is, unless you're going to do something like cut or mark an exact point on the wall. And we don't really need to do that in order to comprehend the other stuff that Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about there, which is an understanding of the universe. Why are we going to worry about that if, one of the smartest men of our time, one of the smartest and most popular men ever in the contemporary respect, it can be so vague, but so just so vastly vague about the comprehension of the universe by using nothing but analogies. And it can just so simply deter the so simply deter the notion of our human existence by 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 saying that we do things that are actually a lot more complicated and, specific than just deterring it. You spent like half an hour talking about that, cosmic shit, and he didn't really get too in depth about any of it. But yeah, the gist of it was we only understand this specific three-dimensional cut in the wall and then put a different wall, take down a supporting wall, and have that shit fall on our heads. We only understand that, So that's the only thing, these physical things, looking up at the sky and seeing that the sky is up there, looking down at the ground and seeing that not only is the ground there, but it's closer to you, it's right underneath your feet most of the time. Those human things, simple three-dimensional human things, can be put down easily enough just because we know all the fuck about them. We don't know shit about the fourth dimension, but Neil deGrasse Tyson did a lot of talking in that half hour about the fourth dimension and how important it might have been. But then again, he has nothing really better to do. Isn't he a theoretical physicist, an astrophysicist? I don't know. What else? He's not going to do anything like take down a supporting wall and have it fall on his head. He's not doing that sort of thing. He's not a construction worker. He looks like he could be, but he's not. Then again, it's only another human that can determine the difference between one human and another human. I mean, you're a human, right? Are you going to determine the difference between a dog that exercises, a dog that just sits around the house? No, you're probably not even going to care. You're just going to think, oh, what a cute little baby. You're gonna kiss the dog, give the dog pets, hugs and kisses, and go like that on his fur. But you're not gonna so easily determine the difference. Muscle is obvious, but then again, people don't often focus on that when they focus on the dog. What if there was some sort of creature that had humans as pets, that had brain development that went far beyond the age of 25 for humans, and they just keep developing their brains, In 25 years, we're as smart as we are. The next 50 years or so, we kind of stay that much smart. If we take away language or whatever, something like that, we can just, forget about trying to communicate that sort of stuff. But whatever creature might control us would have brain development up to, I don't know, 200 years, something like that, and they live for much longer than that. And then after 75 years, I die, and I die in my little human way. And the whatever sort of aliens, they go like, oh no, I'm a human. And they feel for me, but then again, they have their other members of their species to comfort them. They can talk about my loss all they want, but they really, even if I am still alive, they can't ask me how I feel about being dead. They cannot, because I don't speak, Take away the language from humans. Humans can eventually, think of their own understanding of noises, verbal communication, but if they're kept as pets, they're obviously not doing that. They're not doing that. And anybody who takes 200 years to fully develop their brain and lives much, much longer than that, they're going to have a language that no human can begin to comprehend. A dog can spend, I don't know, maybe 1 year, and they will develop their brain enough to think as smart as a 2-year-old human. But they won't go further than that. No. They'll probably live for something like 20 years, maybe 20 years. But they will not start thinking like a 20-year-old. No. They'll start thinking like the year-old dog they were back then. Maybe a year and a half of developing brain, blah, blah, blah. They don't have their own language. They could, but no, they're a domestic dog. They're not bred to speak. They are bred to sit, lie down, and maybe run and jump, sniff drugs. They're not really trained to communicate eloquently like a human with language. We're obviously not bred to do what somebody who could be much more smarter than us, much, much smarter in 200 years and live longer than that. We're not bred to do that kind of thing. We're bred to just do whatever the fuck we do. Like birds, wild birds. They don't give a shit about other humans. They have their own language, but it's pretty much songs to communicate what species they are, how they're feeling. They want to fuck, or they exist. We have so much more to say. And we do the same thing. But the bird would not even care. The bird just flies around. Bird can fucking fly. Their bird is probably not exactly as smart as us. Birds can live something like 100 years. So can tortoises. Tortoises can't fly naturally, but they can swim. They can kill fish just naturally because it comes naturally to them. What comes naturally to us? I guess we have that kind of natural human condition beaten out of us. And I'm not saying physically. I'm saying like it's not okay to hit people. Well, what else the fuck a human's supposed to do? Just take away language, take away that stupid, laws, boundaries. We're going to be killing each other. Mad Max up in here. Everybody just murdering each other out in the streets, Not mass hysteria. No, mass hysteria, my ass. As people being a good old natural human they were something like 50,000 years ago. They're probably amped up because of finally breaking free of that nonsense. Yeah, but then again, a fish cannot climb a tree, but they are the only ones who have scoped the entirety of the ocean. And we stupid humans have 98% of the ocean left to complete. And we're like, I didn't, we didn't get too many water exploration skills trained. So we're gonna die, I guess. You're probably gonna die before anybody even begins any progress that would greatly affect the exploration of under the sea, You're most probably gonna die before that. But then again, you should not care because there's nothing, too important below the sea. You're a human. You shouldn't care about that. You should probably care about, having children, at least one child, or contributing greatly to society. I don't mean greatly, but considerately. Like, do something like write a book, be a popular musician, maybe. I don't know. Eventually, it's music that goes good with the understanding of a lot of things. Because people end up listening better when there's cool music in the background. For some weird reason. Then again, it's just you're not gonna go to space naturally. You don't need to. You don't even need to worry about it. You don't even need to click on this, Just need to go relax in your life, You got your short, sad life left. That's what I'm counting on. Why don't you get right to it? No one really needs to go to space. No one needs you to go to space because they're all pretty much human like you. We all got brains, we all got this shit in our head soaking in blood and kind of rotting in a strange way and being affected by hormones and producing hormones of its own. You're coursing throughout our body, We're just beings of flesh and sharp, brittle calcium. Disgusting stuff composing our bodies. And then this disgusting blob inside this, it's just a melon pretty much. But it's everything to us. It literally is. Without this, we're just non-existent. You do want to exist, right? That's pretty much the goal for humans. You can build upon that by having a kid. Finding a cure to some disease that actually does kill more than it needs to. Diseases should not kill people, of course. We don't need diseases, and we don't need people to go into space. We don't really need that. It would be pretty cool, we're thinking about the future. We're going to eventually run out of resources, stuff like that, on Earth. But you, yourself, you're probably somebody who clicked on a video deep in YouTube. And you're like, I think this is going to be entertaining. But you didn't really say that to yourself, probably. Probably thought to yourself, maybe this will help. And that's insane. It's nutty. You can be your own help. You can look in the mirror and think about all the things that people have taught you. Think about all that shit. Think about maybe what I'm talking about in this 34 minutes or so. Think 34. Or you can go thinking, hey, a lot of this stuff can be thought about. You start thinking, hey, I can think about this. I have a brain, a disgusting bubble of flesh in my head. It's a brain. I'm not going to, I'm not even going to think of myself as the entire human. This thing is what's making me think of anything in the first place. You got to be grateful for it. You can't just go like, you cannot deny that you have a brain, Yeah. You can't. You don't need to go to space, but you do need your brain in order to comprehend why or why not you would go to space.